And Drama FC is back at it again. More news, more reports, and more leaks coming out. And the leaks are surrounding Jadon Sancho. And I'm going to say a situation that was very bad has managed to go from bad to worse. I was thinking maybe he'll apologise, but I'm going to be honest with you guys. From what I've heard, he is never going to be allowed to play again. I don't think Ten Hag is ever going to allow him to play again, because the Muppeteers have put out some information. There's obviously been some leaks and reports. I had a look at what the United Muppeteers said on their Discord, and what Sancho is doing, even though we don't know the full story between Sancho and Ten Hag, even though we don't know why the relationship is so bad, and maybe Sancho has a reason for not liking Ten Hag, but Sancho's behaviour has been nothing but unprofessional. When you're on £350,000 a week, you can't just refuse to come to work, act out like this, make a big fuss. Any other job, any other industry, you would be sacked by now, or you wouldn't be paid if you went on strike like this as well. But there are reports coming out from Fabrizio Romano that the situation is very, very tense. And there are more and more reports coming out from the Muppeteers on their Discord that, in fact, he's turning up to training late. He's refusing to train. He's refusing to do this. He's refusing to do that. And as a result of this, Erik ten Hag has kind of banned him reportedly from having communication with anyone in the United squad. He's not allowed in the academy dressing room when they're in there, even though he's sent to train with the academy. Romano has said the situation is not getting any better because Sancho has pretty much refused to apologise. So it's very, very dramatic, the Sancho situation, and he's making it worse for himself. And we're going to get into a few of the things that he's reportedly done and some of the things that were said on the Muppeteers Discord and some of the reports that have come out, because I'm really disappointed in Sancho. There's also some reports that McTominay's future is up in the air. Obviously, with Hannibal's recent performances, he's rumoured to be getting a new contract, and it seems that Erik would favour the young players over Scott. Scott was also almost sold in the summer. We are going to get into some news that Scott will be leaving Manchester United. His time is done. And when players are back from injury, he probably won't be playing much again, because not only has he been really poor in the last 2 games for United, but he's also, something that he's always been praised for was his work rate, and we haven't seen that recently as well. But let me share my screen, because I think it's gone a bit blurry as well. Someone said Bruno's out. I don't think Bruno's out. Someone's saying that Bruno's out. One sec. Let me check something. I've got a few people saying that Bruno's going to be out for a little bit. I hope not. Let me just check some news on Bruno. Any news on Bruno? I think that's just a rumor. There's if something has happened to Bruno, I think the Athletic would say as well. But look, this is what I'm going to say. So what's come out on Sancho? So the United Muppeteers, they've got really good sources around the club, and they said pretty much that they believe Sancho is going to leave in January. They've said that United are already exploring a move for Sancho to leave in January and all of that as well. But an interesting thing that the United Muppeteers have said is that, it looks like he's not going to play again. So what I want to read out is everything that has come out on this Jadon Sancho situation for you guys. So it first came out today, obviously from the United Muppeteers. They said a few things, but they essentially came out with a report basically saying that Sancho had turned up to training late. And we know that Sancho had obviously... Oh, one sec. I just seen a report. Mourinho wants to bring Sancho to Roma at all costs, and Sancho is asked to leave United. Roma are the favourites to sign him, but wages are a stumbling block in the deal. That's what's just come out now. Interesting. But let's get back into the situation. I want to get into what the United Muppeteers have said today. I'm just going to scroll and find it for you guys. And this is some really interesting situation. I'm not sure what's going on with the connection, so I do apologise if it's gone a little bit blurry here. But it was said here by James Rhodes this. He said, Sancho reported late again, refuses to train, situation pretty toxic. He refuses to back down on his side, believes he's fully in the right and firmly believes it's a personal thing. So with regards to Sancho, he was obviously seen playing FIFA at 3 a.m. last night. Last night, Sancho was up on a Twitch stream playing FIFA. We also know that Sancho was playing FIFA when we had a Bayern Munich game on. He had no interest in watching the Bayern Munich game. He was playing FIFA. But Sancho's been playing FIFA at 3 a.m. and then a lot of us are wondering why he can't make it to training on time. If he's playing FIFA till 3 a.m. and he cannot make it to training on time, I wonder why. I wonder why he's struggling so much to get up in the morning when he's playing FIFA at 3 in the morning. But it's also coming out now that he's refusing to train. Now, if we want to spin this back, if we want to go back to the actual news, essentially what happened with Sancho was that obviously he put his statement out on social media, and then he left his statement up for a week, and then him and Erik ten Hag had some talks to try and make up, and the statement was taken down. So we thought, well, maybe they have made up. But then United have put out a statement to basically say they haven't made up because Sancho was refusing to apologise, and Sancho was forced to train with the academy. For the last couple of weeks, Sancho has been forced to train with the academy, and he will not be allowed back into the first team until he apologises. You know, it's been 3 weeks now. He's refusing to apologise, which I think is mad. Look, there probably is a reason he's mad that we don't know about, but I think it's silly that he's refusing to apologise, because he's got a really good opportunity to make or break his United career. With Antony being out, if he put his head down, if he worked harder than he ever worked before, that right wing spot is his to claim. Because I think he ended last season quite well on the right wing. I think he looked quite good in pre-season. It's only 4 games into the season and Ten Hag wasn't giving you minutes. I get maybe in November time, if it came to November and he still wasn't getting minutes and Antony was being poor in November and Antony was here, then I would get particularly why he'd be annoyed. But it was 4 games into the season that he wasn't being picked, and then he's thought, yeah, I'm being scapegoated. It was only 4 games into the season. Wan-Bissaka only got 4 minutes before the World Cup, and that was about 20 games into the season, you know. But he basically feels that he's being scapegoated and is you know, just refusing to apologise. And that's really annoying, because I was hoping he'd apologise, cement his career, because it's a really good opportunity for him. But he doesn't have the mindset for that. He's probably be like, I'm on 350 grand a week. I took 4 months off last season, went quick. I'll take another 4 months off this season because it's the only way I can get my move in January. And it's a very disappointing attitude and outlook here from Sancho. But now he's essentially refusing to train. He's playing FIFA till 3 a.m. and he's refusing to train. And does anyone else think that like this is a little bit embarrassing for him? I saw Phil Brown make a really good point on this whole situation. He said, you know, Sancho, Phil Brown said this on it. He said, I don't care what Sancho thinks of Erik ten Hag. He's not playing him. He's playing for himself, his family, and the fans who pay his wages. Players who down tools because they don't like the manager will always let down the next manager. You'll find this out too. And I think that's absolutely right. For me, with this whole Sancho situation, it doesn't matter about the fact that, you know, he's annoyed at Ten Hag and Ten Hag's not playing him. He doesn't like Ten Hag and he refuses to play for the manager. I think Sancho, you know, is also letting himself down. He's refusing to now go to training. Refusing to go to training is just going to impact his career. Refusing to play for 4 months and go to training is going to impact his career. It's not just letting himself down. It's not impacting his career. It's going to let his family down. It's going to let his teammates down. It's letting the fans down who pay his wages. He'd rather play FIFA till 3 a.m. on £350,000 a week than, you know, play and fight for his place back. And even if he doesn't mean his apology, it's just the way the working world goes. A lot of people I know do not like their managers, do not like their bosses, but they know that that's what they've got to do because they haven't got a choice. Because a lot in other industries, if you acted like that towards your manager and refused to come in, they're not going to pay you. Sancho's powerful because he's still going to get 300 grand a week acting like this and refusing to come in, which is absolutely mad. But for me, it's crazy. We pay 350k a month for him to play FIFA. Yeah, I mean, he's the highest earner at the club. What kind of example does that set? Is the quality okay, guys? Let me know if there's any problem with the stream quality or anything like that. I'm not really sure what's going on as well. Sancho's career's in the trenches. Sancho's been told he'll never leave again. Sancho's not even winning the FIFA games. That's the funny thing as well. Sancho's not even winning the games of FIFA that he's currently playing as well. And we're literally paying 350k a month for him to lose at FIFA as well. Could there be a breach of contract there where we could stop paying him? Potentially, with him refusing to train, but apparently it's more that when he turns up to training, he's turning up super late because he's just been playing FIFA till 3 a.m. And yeah, he's just refusing to do all of that as well. But the United Muppeteers came out with some more information on the situation, and the United Muppeteers actually said just in, Sancho's not even allowed in the academy dressing room where the players are. So not only has he refused to train, it's got to the point where Sancho, who was meant to be training with the academy players, has now been removed from the academy dressing room where the players are because he's deemed a bad influence on the academy players. He's deemed a player that's got a very negative outlook, and it's going to be, you know, Ten Hag's decided actually it's not healthy to have a player with this attitude setting an example in front of the academy players. So Jadon Sancho has actually been banned from not only the first team dressing room, not only first team training, but now the academy training and dressing room. And he's sort of kind of been banished essentially. And he's basically been told, if you apologize, you come back in. But he's basically saying, I'm not backing down. I'm not going to apologize. I've been scapegoated massively as well. 20 Ollie Legend says Muppeteers are not quality source. Muppeteers, it depends what's being reported, but when it comes to things that are going on inside the club, they seem to be quite accurate. I think the Muppeteers is a good source when it comes to things going on inside the club, because they were one of the few people that spoke about Mason Mount before we ended up signing Mason Mount. They were one of the few people that mentioned a few things. They mentioned a few things, how Erik ten Hag actually demanded that we signed a striker this summer. They also one of the few people that said, you know, we are looking at this player and that player. They've been somewhat accurate when it comes to things going on inside the club. They've also said that we're the players that we're scouting ahead of next season. So they're pretty accurate when it comes to what's going on inside the club in terms of what's going on between the manager and players. And that is many things about Jadon Sancho. Fabrizio Romano also said some things along the same lines. Fabrizio Romano said on Jadon Sancho today, essentially that the only way back for Sancho is for him to apologise, was said by Romano, but not only to Ten Hag. Fabrizio Romano said this. He said that Jadon Sancho's also got to apologise to the rest of the coaches and the rest of the players on top of Erik ten Hag, and that was said by Fabrizio Romano. It was said that Manchester United players and coaches are very let down and disappointed in Sancho, and that the current situation is really tense, not just between Ten Hag and Sancho, but the coaching staff and some of the players as well. And that Jadon Sancho has now got to apologise to the players. Romano is starting to say things that the players aren't impressed with the way he's acting, and that those at United actually feel let down by Sancho, which I think it is true. You know, you've got Anthony out. We're in a situation where we need a right winger. And this guy, all he's got to do is apologise to the manager. Even if he doesn't mean it, he's got to apologise to the manager, work really hard, try and prove him wrong. And even if you think that you're in the right, and this is my message to Sancho. If Sancho was magically watching this, I say this to him: even if you think you're in the right, even if you think you've done nothing wrong and you don't understand why you should apologise to Ten Hag and you don't like Ten Hag, surely for yourself, the team, everyone else, you apologise, you go to training, you work really hard, you be the best player you can be, you play regularly, and then you try and force that move. Surely that is the best thing you can do, because by refusing to train, by turning up late, by refusing to play, to talk to anyone, to be in the dressing room, you're damaging yourself, your reputation. You think that clubs are going to be queuing up for you in January after you've had a reputation here, a reputation at Dortmund, a reputation at England, and a reputation at Manchester City? I don't think they will. You're letting down your teammates. You're creating a bit of a divide in the dressing room because your teammates aren't happy. You're letting down the coaches. And more importantly, you're letting down the fans who pay your 350 grand a week wages while you play FIFA until 3 a.m. So my message to Sancho is, even if, for me, you don't think it's worth making up with Ten Hag, and you don't see why you should make up with Ten Hag, you should make up with him for the sake of yourself. Even if you don't mean it, because we don't have Anthony. We need you. We need a right winger. And the worst part is, in Sancho's statement, he said that he would give everything for the team. In Sancho's statement, he said he'd give 100% for the team. You know, the team was the most important thing. But for me, you know, if you were going to give everything for the badge, if the most important thing for you was playing regularly, you'd apologise even if you didn't mean it. This is what I tweeted. I said, the Sancho situation appears to be spiralling out of control. He clearly has no interest in playing for United again, despite in his statement saying, I will continue to fight for this badge no matter what. He literally said this in his statement. He said that his number one priority is playing football. Playing football makes him happy, and he will continue to fight for the badge no matter what. His statement has proven to be a complete lie. His statement is saying, he loves this, he loves that, he's going to work really hard, he'll give 100% for the club, he just wants to play football and enjoy playing football, and he'll fight for the badge no matter what. If you're going to fight for the badge no matter what, you just apologise, suck it up, go into training and work really hard. You do what Wan-Bissaka did, who got 4 minutes of football before the World Cup, didn't get a sniff, didn't even get an opportunity, and Wan-Bissaka just worked as hard as he could in training, and when he got his chance, he took it. But you won't do that. And look, as said here, he's on 350 grand a week and is reportedly refusing to train or show up to training on time, and instead is opting to play FIFA on Twitch at 3 a.m. While I do believe that something's happened that we don't know about, this is unacceptable. In any other industry, you wouldn't be paid if you pulled this. And I also think your career is short. You missed 4 months last season for personal issues. Are you really willing to miss another 4 months of your career for your own ego? Your own, are you really willing to do that as well? Just to push a move in January. If it was maybe December, I'd somewhat go, look, he's forcing a move. If this was December, like Ronaldo did it in November, December after the World Cup, Ronaldo knew there was only going to be like one game he played before the January transfer window anyway, if he'd come back to United. If he was doing this maybe in December, I wouldn't say it would be acceptable, but it would be more understandable. but it's the fact you're doing this in September when there's so many games to play, and the January transfer window is 4 months away, and that is assuming you get a move, because with your wages and with United's inability to sell, for me, that there's no guarantee that he's even getting a move. Is there? There's no guarantee that he's even getting a move, and I think he has to look at players like Wan-Bissaka, who worked really hard, put their head down, and didn't complain. That's what I've got to say as well. Sancho's just more concentrated on gaming as well. And do you know what the problem is? And I've seen a good comment here, is when Sancho has not had to learn, I think to get to the level Sancho's got to, you have to put a lot of work in and stuff. But at the end of the day, you've seen with a lot of football players at the end, like Ravel Morrison, Dele Alli, talent beats hard work. Hard work beats talent if the talent isn't willing to work hard. And I think Sancho's getting to that age where when you get to about 19, 20, it's about how hard you work. A lot of it is about how hard you work. And I think Sancho's getting to that kind of period now in his career where, if he's not willing to work hard, it's going to affect your results. It's going to affect your performances. And for me, if he's not willing to work hard, he needs to leave as well. Alice, Sancho should be apologising to supporters of our club, says Jean. I agree with you. We're on 116 likes, people, so please do continue with the like button as well. We have Pellistri and Ahmad get rid on the wing. And I have to say, we do have Pellistri and Ahmad who want to be here, who want to play for us, which is the most important thing. But the most disappointing thing about Sancho is he kept going on about how he wants to play for the badge, how he'll give everything for the badge, this and that. And I'm thinking, well, you obviously don't. You obviously don't, because you're turning up late. And I see a lot of people blaming Erik ten Hag. I see a lot of people saying, this is Ten Hag's fault. This is Ten Hag's fault, Alice. How is it Ten Hag's fault if Sancho can't be bothered to turn up to training on time? Someone tell me why and how this is all of a sudden Ten Hag's fault that Sancho can't be willing to turn up to training on time. If Sancho is not willing to work hard, and if Sancho would rather sit and earn 350 grand a week than work hard, that's his problem. And I saw someone say this in the chat. Man United partly caused this problem. And the reason Man United partly caused this problem is because we had Sancho, at age 17, went over to Germany, was on big money. We signed Sancho when he just turned 20 years of age, and we gave him £350,000 a week. £350,000 a week we paid him. We gave a 20-year-old £350,000 a week and basically told him he was the greatest person ever. We basically bigged him up, acted like he was the greatest person ever. And, for a player that, was really hyped up in the Man City Academy, everyone told him he was amazing, amazing. He went to Dortmund and he was amazing, amazing. But his whole life, his family, his agent, everyone's told him he's amazing, amazing, amazing. He comes to United, everyone's told him he's amazing, amazing, amazing. He's on 350 grand a week at United. And all of a sudden, it's not quite working out at United. And then all of a sudden, he's not even the first choice winger at United because Rashford scored 30 goals off the left. And Ten Hag brought in Anthony because he likes his wingers to have a good work rate. All of a sudden, when it's not going his way, instead of going to training saying, I'm going to work super hard and prove the manager wrong like Wan-Bissaka did, because I know I will get a chance eventually because the squad rotates. There will be rotation. I think if the whole situation didn't happen, Sancho probably would have started against Brighton and against Bayern Munich. Do you know what I mean? Instead of going, I'm going to work really hard in training, clearly I'm doing something wrong and the last 2 years of my United career haven't been great, he's gone, I'm going to have a strop and I'm going to blame the manager. He's not playing me, so he cleared as a problem. Maybe you haven't been good enough. Maybe the brutal truth is that he needs to accept is that actually he hasn't been good enough for us. And that is the reason he's not playing, because he's not been good enough. If he was playing like Rashford last season and scored 30 goals and been our most important player, and all of a sudden he was frozen out for Anthony, who had been bang average, I would have a bit of sympathy for him. I really would. I'd say, you know what? I've got a bit of sympathy for you here. But I don't think Anthony's been great, but we can't act like Sancho's been any better. When Ten Hag gave Sancho a run of games last season, because he did, towards the end of last season, get a run of games, for the most part, we were saying, oh, Garnacho should be playing over him. Or Pellistri should be playing over him. For the most part, we were asking for him to be subbed off in games and bring on Garnacho. Or when Anthony was injured, we were saying we missed Anthony. So when Ten Hag did give him a run of games towards the end of last season, bar the last 2 games of the season where he played on the right and put some good crosses in, and I think that would be really beneficial with Højlund in, he wasn't particularly good. So this whole I'm going to have a big strop and refuse to apologise because the manager's told me to work hard in training, and just saying that the manager's got an agenda and is scapegoating you, I think is the complete wrong attitude to have, because I'm thinking, well, he's basically told you work hard and you'll get back in the team, and you've taken that as I'm being scapegoated and turning on the manager and basically jeopardizing 4 months of your career to get a move, when actually Southgate has said the same. And Southgate said actually the problem with Sancho is when he's not playing for England, he's always moody in training and affecting the morale of the team. And there was reports of him being late for Dortmund. There was reports of him like going off in pre-season and not doing this. The reports of him causing problems at Dortmund. There was the same issues with the Man City academy. I think, if Ten Hag's called him out for not working hard enough in training, I think Ten Hag can be pretty credible with that claim, because why would he lie? And, that is Sancho's reputation as a player. And I think it all comes back to the fact that we've given a 20-year-old £350,000 a week. Everyone around him is told he's amazing, amazing, amazing. And when all of a sudden he has to work for his place and fight for his place, instead of taking responsibility and working hard, he's gone, I want to move and I'm not going to apologise. And he's for me, he's acting really, really immature, really, really immature as well. Rob said, let's not ignore Pellistri. He's better than Sancho and plays with heart. And you know what? Let's not ignore Pellistri. I think Pellistri will get some more chances. I think with the Palace game tomorrow, I think we'll see Pellistri and Alejandro play, hopefully, in those games. I think, and let me know your thoughts on this, but I think ahead of the Palace game, I think rotation is going to be really important. And hopefully we do see some rotation in the Palace game. I think, considering the squad depth we've got, obviously we cannot rotate the defence in the slightest. But I think the attack needs to rotate. The midfielders are sort of coming back. The attack is the one area we can rotate. And for me, I'd actually start Martial up top, Nacho on the left, and Pellistri on the right against Crystal Palace. In the midfield, I'd probably go with Mesbri, Eriksson, and then maybe Amrabat if he's fit to start, and then maybe Mason Mount actually for Mesbri if Mason Mount's fit. But I think Mason Mount will come off the bench. And then in defence, I think you'd have to go with Evans because he will be the rotation option. I'd probably rest Lindelof because he's played a bit lately, and maybe go with Varane or even Maguire if he's back. I'd probably play Maguire. But I think this Palace game we need to rotate. I think one of the issues we've had this season is so many players out with hamstring problems, muscular problems. So I think for the Crystal Palace game, hopefully we do get to see Pellistri play, but I think it's really important that we rotate as much as we can because we've got enough players out as it is, and the one area we can rotate is obviously going forward. So I think if we can rotate there, that would be super, super important as well. Daniel said that Sancho's probably focused on foot champs. Yeah, big up Daniel in the chat as well. I wouldn't be surprised in all honesty as well. It seems that he's just been playing foot champs at 3 a.m. and weekendly at 3 a.m. rather than going to training on time or apologising to the manager or training as well. Sancho was made to look good at Dortmund because he played alongside generational talents like Bellingham and Haaland. He was a very talented player though. I think the thing about Sancho is he is better than Antony in terms of talent, but Antony works harder, and that's why Eric picks Antony at the end of the day, because the saying hard work beats talent is a very true saying as well. How do you know this is true? You're just going off the media. This has been reported by The Athletic. This has been reported by Romano. This has been reported by the Muppeteers, all people that have very good sources within the club. I'm not saying that the full story is 100% true. I'm sure there's things going on that we don't know. But the situation is when Ronaldo went on Piers Morgan and did that interview, Ronaldo never played for United again. I genuinely believe that Jadon is not going to play for us again. I really don't think he's going to play for us again, because I think had he apologised and took the statement down, he would have been slowly working his way back in, just having to prove himself in training. I think the fact that he's refusing to apologise, the fact that the club even had to put out a statement to tell the fans what was going on, the fact that Fabrizio Romano, the Laurie Whitwells, The Athletic is saying things, and then you've got the Muppeteers coming in saying he's being late for training, and and then we're seeing videos of him on Twitch at 3 a.m. playing FIFA when he's got training the next morning. I think it is all particularly worrying. Of course, some news stories need to be taken with a pinch of salt, and I do think that again we don't know the full truth. I think that maybe something's happened that we don't know about, because I actually heard something from a source, something that you guys might find quite interesting. But I did hear something from a source the other day that that game against Tottenham where we lost 2-0. Jadon was actually in line to start that game, and I heard this from quite a reliable source in the space that Jadon was actually meant to start that game. He was in line to start that game, and basically all of a sudden there was a big argument in training, and then all of a sudden he was put on the bench. I heard that there was an argument in training, and I do think there's probably some things going on that we don't know about. I think the moral of the story is that he feels that he's being picked on by Ten Hag and scapegoated and soloed out, because Ten Hag is making everyone know that he's not training hard enough and making a big deal out of it and doing that in a press conference, and he doesn't like how the manager's singling him out. But at the end of the day, I think in the world of football, you should take that as constructive criticism and take that as motivation to prove the manager wrong. Cristiano Ronaldo did a brilliant interview 2 years ago when we got Rangnick in, and he said in his day at United, when Roy Keane and Gary Neville would come over to him and tell him he's not doing good enough. This is what Ronaldo said. He'd have Roy Keane, he'd have Gary Neville coming over to him, telling him that he's not working hard enough or what he's doing is not good enough. You know, Ronaldo said that then he would just work 10 times harder to prove them wrong. When he was getting criticised by Sir Alex, when he was getting criticised by Gary Neville, when he was getting criticised by Roy Keane, Ronaldo said he would take that as motivation to work harder because Sir Alex was the best coach in the world. Gary Neville and Roy Keane were the two best elite players. And Ronaldo said when he was an 18, 19, 20, even 21-year-old at Manchester United, he would always listen to the seniors. He'd always listen to the manager. And when he was criticised by players and the manager, he said that was a good thing. It made him better. And Ronaldo said in that interview, and this was around the time we had Ralph Rangnick in, he said there's too many Man United players these days that if you criticise them, if you tell them they're not working hard enough in training, they take it out on you and they turn on you. And Ronaldo said, and he was aiming this at people like Sancho and Mason, he was saying, when I criticised some of the young players and said they need to step up and do better in training and work harder, Ronaldo thought they would think, okay, he's the best player in the world. He's giving me advice. This is constructive criticism. I'm going to listen to Ronaldo. And Ronaldo said that he was shocked that certain players, instead of listening to him and going, you know, this is like the best player of all time telling you this, they turned on him going, why is he telling me what to do? Who does he think he is? And, you know, there was an incident where Mason had actually called him washed, and there was all the dressing room leaks from the Athletic, and there was a fallout there. And, you know, that's the problem with United players. Ronaldo, who's arguably the best player of all time, would come to these players and think he was criticising them because he thought it was like constructive criticism, like Roy Keane and Gary Neville would do to him, and said that these players would act out. These players would be annoyed at him for criticising them, and he couldn't do it. Some people say, could Rashford help the situation between Sancho and Ten Hag? Well, that's not in Rashford's job, or that's not Rashford's responsibility as well, to be honest. But as I have to say, there's two things that stood out to me, and this is the interview that Ronaldo gave when Rangnick was in charge and what Ollie said in a recent interview that makes me think of Sancho. And I said this earlier. I said, Ollie said in his interview last week that some players, when they weren't playing, couldn't have said that they hadn't been good enough or hadn't trained well enough, and instead they forced a move because their agents or family told them they were better than they actually are. So, as I said, I believe Sancho's a talented player, but actually it makes me go back to Ronaldo's interview about how when he was a kid at United and was criticised by older players, that was motivation for him. These are the best players right now. These are the top players in the Premier League. If they're criticising me, that's constructive criticism. That's good criticism. If the manager's criticising me, that's good. But the young players at United now, a lot of them, if Ronaldo came up to them and was critical of them, they, instead of going, this is arguably the best player in the world of all time, they would be like, screw Ronaldo. And when Ollie would tell players that they weren't playing because they weren't working hard enough in training or they weren't good enough, and yes, let's be honest, Ollie has his favourites. I think Ten Hag has his favourites. Ollie said the problem was that these players at United would think they're better than they were. So as soon as they stopped playing, as soon as they weren't playing, instead of like working hard in training and trying to prove Ollie wrong, and when they got an opportunity on the pitch, taking it and playing it really well, they would then go to their agents. They'd cause problems. They'd cause leaks. Because the problem Ollie said at the club, and Ollie said this in his interview last week, just a week ago, he said there's too many players at this club still here now because the people at the top of this club will not sell the troublemakers. They will not get rid of them because they've spent X amount of money on them. Their wages are X amount. They won't get rid of them. Ollie said there was too many players at this club that when they weren't playing were being fed by their agent and family and had people giving them the wrong advice around them that would essentially just act out when they were dropped. And they wouldn't have said that they were dropped because when they had played, they hadn't been good enough or that they hadn't been training hard enough. They would say, I deserve to be playing week in, week out. They thought they were better than they are, and they forced a move. And that's what Ollie said about the personality of players. And I think Ollie is spot on when he says that. And I think that is a big problem in the modern game. It's, you know, you've got to, when you're dropped, want to work hard and get back into that place as well. Sancho again says Sancho is being silly. He's destroyed his own career. We need to move on from this. He does not play for us, so why talk about him? We need to focus on the players that are playing, not Sancho. And I think you're absolutely right. I think we know that he's not going to play again, and I think we know that this is the end of Sancho. And I think, you know, probably the best thing to do is to now focus on those players that are going to play again, those players that are the most important for us. I think that's a really important thing. And there is a lot of positivity to focus on. We've got 3-4 players coming back from injury. You know, we've got Mount coming back. Varane is obviously back. Amrabat has returned. You know, we're in a good situation there. We've got a lot of players coming back. We've got obviously Hannibal playing well. Cobby's coming back soon as well. I think there's a lot of positives to focus on. I think, you know, the focus for my live stream tomorrow will definitely be on sort of the Palace game and how Pellistri is going to be really good for that. And, you know, how we've got, you know, we can play a lot of our forwards in that game as well. But yeah, people saying, why should Sancho apologise? Eric Ten Hag was unprofessional calling him out. Just because that's the nature. He's on £350,000 a week. It's at the end of the day, you know, a lot of people don't like their boss, but sometimes you just have to go. You just got to get on with it, you know. And I think he's just got to get on with it. I think Ten Hag shouldn't have called him out, but at the end of the day, he shouldn't have put a statement on social media. You know, big up everybody in the chat. Please do smash that like button and of course subscribe down below if you're new as well. People saying, is it wrong to give Rashford too high wages? Since Rashford's got that contract, he has really gone downhill. I will admit that as well. People saying, should we drop Rashford? Well, I think we should, because of the Crystal Palace game anyway. I don't think he should be playing. We've got the Crystal Palace game coming up. I don't think he should be playing at all. It was also said on this, the United stand and Fabrizio Romano. Fabrizio Romano went on the United stand today, and he did say a few interesting things that I do want to dive into. Romano did say there's absolutely no thoughts from Man United about getting rid of Ten Hag. He's not being blamed. They understand there's a difficult situation around the whole club, and he remains the face of the new United. And I think, for me, this is the most positive kind of story to come out right now, out of all the stories coming out today, because it is drama FC, and that's that there absolutely is no plans to get rid of Ten Hag. And I think this is really positive news, because I think that means that, you know, I think, you know, we often, as soon as things go wrong, we're like, change the manager. And I think we've learned our lesson now too many times. It's not about changing the manager. I know there's a lot of people that want the manager out, and look, we can criticize the manager. I'm very critical of Eric. I'm very critical of why did he not make a substitution before? You know, why did he not bring on this player? Why did he bring on that player? I'm very critical of his man management. I'm very critical of his in-game decisions. I'm very critical of the manager. But me being critical of the manager is not me wanting him out. I think we need to learn as a fan base, you can be critical as the manager, but not want him out. And I'm in a position where I'm critical of the manager. There's a few things that I'm disliking, but I'm not going to want him out, because I know at the end of the day, we can just go through manager, and we'll always be in problematic situations. We've been through enough managers to know changing the manager doesn't really change much. The whole culture needs to reset. The whole people above the manager need to reset. But I think it's good that, you know, they're not looking to get rid of the manager just yet, and that this is coming from Romano. I think, you know, and, you know, a lot of people do want the manager out already, but I'm thinking we're 5 games into the season. First of all, look at Chelsea. That will make us feel a lot better. But second of all, he signed 3 outfield players, and, you know, he's not been able to really use any of those three outfield players yet. You know, the core of his squad is missing. You know, he's not been able to field his strongest lineup. You know, Arsenal came second last season. They had their best ever season in ages last season. But one thing that Arteta had until about April time, when they actually bottled the league, was Arteta was basically able to field his strongest 11 every single game until about April time, when Saliba got injured. And that's why Arsenal did so well. And I think, you know, for me, injuries make a big difference when you go into the season. We saw it with Liverpool at the beginning of last season. We saw it with Arsenal at the end of last season. And I think once we get the players back and we've got the new players playing more, I think things will turn around. And I think we've got to be patient with the manager. It's going to be a long project. It's going to be a process. And I think, you know, there's too many things going on at the club. But look, he has to start the young players against Crystal Palace 100% as well. Eric Bailly called out the owners favouring English players, and you criticised him, Alice. I didn't criticise him. I said Eric Bailly is absolutely right. But I said, Eric Bailly, when you're a player under contract at a club, you can't go and do interviews and put statements out and stuff. You know, I like Eric Bailly, and I believe that he was right when he said that the club favoured English players. But I think it's wrong to go on social media and put out statements and do interviews criticising the manager and stuff while he's still contracted at the club. You know, even if you're right, Ronaldo called out the Glazers, and I love that. I love that from Ronaldo, but he shouldn't have gone and done an interview about the club while still under contract from the club, if that makes sense. And I don't know why my quality is going down so much. I do apologise for that. But listen, people, I am going to wrap up the live stream here. So please do smash that like button. Of course, subscribe down below if you're new. I mean, I've got one more story to get into, actually. It's just that I'm really laggy, so that's the reason I was thinking of wrapping up the live stream. But let me get into this last story here, and hopefully the quality doesn't drop. Hopefully the quality doesn't drop. I hope the quality is okay, because I do want to quickly get into this live stream, but you know what my thing's like. And I wanted to get into the story basically. And Romano said that a loan is probably likely for Sancho. He said that McTominay is probably likely to leave the club, but McTominay wants to go to a top club, and that's the reason he wouldn't go to Fulham. And that was said by Fabrizio Romano as well. So Romano did speak about Scott McTominay leaving, but he said he wants to leave and go to a top club. That's why he didn't go to Fulham. He wants to go to a club like Bayern Munich. And I'm going to be honest with Scott McTominay. He's not going to be able to go to a top club off the performances he's been putting in for Manchester United for a while as well. I think that's the thing as well. So Romano has said that. But anyway, thank you everybody for watching today's video. Please do tap the like button, subscribe down below if you're new, share the video. See you next time, and bye.